Black entrepreneurs that are actually doing great things. Let it be in the marketing space, let it be in cryptocurrency. This buzzword is coming all the time these days. It's something that a lot of people are interested into, and I brought back John Lombella, a good friend of mine who's been playing in that space for quite a while. John is the cryptocurrency guru. I call him like that.
Go, guys.
And welcome back to the show.
John, we think represents the future.
So can blockchain be a catalyst for development in Africa? Here is our interview with John Lombella.
John Lombella will talk to us about how hedge funds are navigating the market conditions.
I've seen some amazing people who are already working on phenomenal opportunities. And therefore, as entrepreneurs, and I'm an entrepreneur myself all the way from South Africa, it is important to always develop new things, right? So ambitiously build new cases beyond just financial services. What is important for us is to focus more on the applications that are going to serve the purpose of the public, the guys that we are actually solving problems for. So those are the things that we need to be able to focus on. Take a leap of faith. Make sure that you review your blockchain with the peers and your application to see if there are blockchain ready. So it is really exciting times.
There we go, guys. So this is another edition of the Redefine Your Hustle show, whereby I bring to you, especially on the Friday, some experts in the fintech industry, fintech technology, blockchain, you name it. We're talking about the fourth industrial revolution, guys. So I welcome you all to this particular show. And today I have got two amazing guests. My good friend, all the way from Malaysia and Singapore. So I've decided to bring to you Southeast Asia, a place I've had the privilege and the honor to be there for quite some time. So here's my good friend, Rico Pang, and my other good friend, Dunstan Tio. My man. It is an honor for me to have you guys over here, man. How are you guys doing today?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pleasure to be back to your show.
Well, let me first of all explain to you what we guys do here on a Friday. Okay, so on a Friday, and by the way, we're doing this earlier than usual. We're doing this earlier than usual. Why? Because I've taken cognizance of the fact that you guys are 6 hours ahead of time, and it is 5 p.m. over here. It is 11 p.m. right? Is it 11 p.m.
Yeah.
or midnight?
Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. Yeah.
Exactly, and it is quite late. And so I didn't want to keep you guys too long. And as a matter of fact, we might just have this conversation for about 45 minutes. But depending on how the conversation move forward, maybe we can spend about an hour. So please feel free. And while I am giving time for some of the guys to actually just come in on the show, and as you come on the show, please tell me where you are from. Tell me where you're connecting from. Give us some hearts. Give us some love. Give us some. I just brought you some great guests. These guys are look at Dunstan with the headset. He's like a nerd. This is like the guys we see in the movies. Right? But of course, he will talk about himself, and there is a reason why I brought him here. This guy is a nerd, a freaking nerd. I mean, I've never seen people like that. You know what? In Singapore, I've had the privilege of meeting this guy. Amazing. And you know what? We have quite a few people already that are connected, just about 10 people. And because I don't want to keep you guys late, I know it is close to midnight, but I also know that you guys normally work to take into account the European market or the African market as well as the US market, right? Yep. So that's what we do as entrepreneurs, especially in the space of the COVID-19 and having Zoom for us to be able to connect all the time. I want you guys today to bring your A game so we can talk to African entrepreneurs about the benefit of what you guys are doing, and also how what you're doing can benefit us and entrepreneurs and startup companies, SMEs, how we can really help them, particularly in the blockchain space, right? I once met a sheikh in Dubai, and this guy mentioned to me, I think it was in December 2018. He mentioned to me, he said, John, you know what? Blockchain really wasn't created for the European market. Blockchain really is the cure medicine for the African continent. Now, I would obviously at some point want to understand exactly from your perspective whether that particular statement is true. But if we look into the origin of blockchain technology and what it offers and what it addresses, I think that guy was right. For example, fighting corruption and providing transparency and all that kind of stuff. These are the elements that the blockchain technology could cure in this particular space. But before we get started, the one thing I want people to know is, who are you guys? All right. So I want to introduce to you Rico Pang and Dunstan Teo, my good friends, all the way from Malaysia and Singapore. Why don't you start with Rico, please? Talk to the audience.
Hi everyone, Rico from KL here, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Well, I'm the co-founder of Sanctum. It's a company that Dunstan and myself set up in 2019 to provide consultation in the digitization of assets and businesses. We also help in fundraising. And later on, we started on embarking on a journey to actually invest in building protocols, which Dunstan will talk to you about it, the Fido protocol. Dunstan is the chief architect of this blockchain that we are building. At the same time, we embark on a journey in setting up a venture capital fund, Sanctum Global Ventures and Sanctum Ventures. That's domiciled in the USA. So yeah, that's some of the things that we are working on recently.
Beautiful. You mentioned a keyword there, protocol, and of course we are going to define exactly what a protocol is and what it does, so that all the tech entrepreneurs who are possibly listening on this particular show right now will be able to acquaint themselves on what a protocol is and how we can leverage technology to help other people achieve their goals. Dunstan, why don't you tell me who you are, your nerdy glasses, your tell me all about you, man. I want you to present yourself to the audience.
Well, if you can see, right, I'm a person that's generally stuck in my room most of the time. I've been a professional gamer, was in the blockchain space for 11 years, so considered quite a dinosaur by now. Now helping governments with their sovereign coins. What I usually do is we figure out the economic problems that are in the world right now, and we find solutions for them. Most of these solutions, however, are solutions in which the common layman can't get access to at first, actually, but which is what blockchain is about. It was actually created so that it's freedom for the masses, especially for Bitcoin. So what I actually represent is actually a group of people that believes in the freedom to transact, believe that tech can either enslave or tech can set you free based on the choices that people make. So yeah, so this is who I am actually. Currently, yes, right now we are building a protocol called the Fido protocol. The protocol is named Fido because of trust. We believe that blockchain is supposed to be a trustless ecosystem because there should be no human intervention in that, actually, and which is what we built our protocol based on. Yep, that's all from me.
There's one thing that I want you to be able to explain to me before I carry on. Look, you are a nerd. To me, you're a nerd. You're a gamer. You're a developer. You understand finance. You understand the entire ecosystem of the banking industry. How did you do that?
Well, I spend most of my time in my room. So once I get bored and nothing to do, I start reading, start looking at videos, start reaching out and networking with important people, actually. And also plus the fact that I've been out doing businesses. Like my first foray in the blockchain field was actually accidental. I was playing my games and I came across a Donkey Kong-like game, and it was generating yeah, it was like generating like loyalty points to me and so on. You know, like generating a gaming credit. But later on, I found out that it was actually a Bitcoin mining program, and while playing the game, I was actually generating Bitcoin, and I didn't know that. Yeah, so with that, right? Then like a couple of months later, I told my friends, you know, like in Singapore, while they were playing games with me, hey, let's go and play, and you know, let's mine this thing called Bitcoins. They're like, are you crazy? Stop wasting our time. You know, let's carry on playing the games. So.
Wow. You just amaze me. And guys, for all of you who are following here, you know, sometimes, especially from an African perspective, right? Sometimes, V, by the way, good to see you here. Sometimes we tend to we think that this is all fiction. We think that these technologies are created by people who are just not normal, right? And but here we are. I'm looking at the two of you who are extreme contributors of this entire blockchain ecosystem. You're creating your own tokens. You're creating protocols. In fact, you even the last time we met in Singapore, when what you mentioned to me, you said we are going against the Stellar network. Maybe not against, but I mean because there are certain things that you did not believe, and you either wanted to hard fork that and create your own token. So that's what amazes me. How do you guys come with ideas like that? What make it so possible?
Well, it's I believe it's an idea. It's based on belief systems actually. Most of the people that are in the blockchain space are there because not because they want freedom for the people, not because they want freedom of transaction, freedom of choice. What they actually want is more fiat actually, more money, like you know, more physical cash, more
Right.
money that the Federal Reserves are printing. They don't care about cryptocurrencies. They don't care about Bitcoin. They don't care about they really don't believe in freedom. They are just in for financial gains. So and that is something that you know, it is nothing wrong being like wanting financial gains. But if that's your main ideology, right, then I say, you know, bugger off from the blockchain space, man, in that sense.
And that's why you guys are just wanting to work with the best and those who really understand the particular ecosystem. And I do agree with you. And that will be the role of a lot of speculators, right? Speculators and traders, because all they have been taught for a very long time is an understanding of what fiat currency is to them. Okay, so they think that it is money, and yet it is not money. You and I know it is not money.
Yep.
There's a great difference between money and currency, but we're not going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about it in another debate where I'm going to bring some guys in that particular space to talk about money and so forth. But the one thing I want to do now, I want us to dive into a conversation whereby you can allude to your protocol, Fido protocol, but also the fintech and how you guys are disrupting the banking sector. Can you please tell me more about the Fido protocol and how you came about the Fido protocol?
Rico, do you want to take this first, or should I take this?
Rico, you go.
I mean, okay, sure. Well, pretty much we were involved in quite a number of consultation or development of tech for different enterprises, and we realized that none of the enterprising blockchain is actually working for them. They tried, they tested, they paid POC and everything, and it seems to us that none of them is actually working, not able to scale, not able to have a stable services that is non-destructible. So based on the so many clients that we came about, we got pretty frustrated with what most of these guys are claiming they are going to build in the space, but over the time we didn't see it being realized. So Dunstan and myself have been working with quite a few tech teams, and then we realized that look, I think it's time to build their own protocol and do a lot of research into it, and we decided to launch this protocol late last year. Okay. But this has been an ongoing discussion for the last 2 to 3 years. And along the way, we realized that, look, while we're relying on some other people to build it, which is not forwarding the vision of what Sanctum is, which is to bring sovereign wealth freedom to more people. Then might as well we just do it ourselves with Fido. Fido came from a Turk word. It's actually mean trust in that language. So we pretty like this word, and we wanted to build a protocol where people can really trust it and put the trust on it. And so that is the foundation of this protocol. In terms of the tech and architecture of all these things, I think I will pass it on to Dunstan to talk to you guys about it.
Because I know you're more on the operations, you're more on the finance, and you, by the way, you are also more on the asset management, right? So and I know I've seen you in various travels around the world. You've been in Monaco many times, you've been in Switzerland many times, trying to raise capital for various projects. So you are certainly a guru on that, and we are going to come back in that conversation when we talk about capital raising and so forth. But you know, let's leave the guru here, the tech guy, the nerdy. Give me the juice, man. Give me the juice, bro. Give me the juice around the tech component of what Fido or Fido means. But I love the fact that it means trust, by the way. So give it to me, man, and give it to the audience here.
And please tell me in a very layman term, because not too tacky.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's pretty simple. I better clarify myself. I can't even code one line of code just in case, but I understand architecture, blockchain architecture naturally. Understand what works. Understand data points, and when you put enough data points together, you actually have a solution and a path to go through. Now, what's happening in the blockchain world right now is that with the current developments, the current blockchains that are being developed, none of them have proper scalable solutions. The blockchain can't scale, like even in Singapore, our project Ubin, which is a national project, they have failed at least 4 proof of concepts with 4 different blockchains already. I better not name them in case, you know, somebody I received some letters. So, so I better not name people. But yes, most of the major blockchains out there are gas problems, like, you know, transactions are expensive. We have transactions being stopped or being slowed down because of congestion, because of the size of the data, because of the architecture problems. We have other problems of other blockchains where the consensus or the governance model actually brings problem. What I mean by consensus and governance is this: would you dare to build any of your apps or any of your businesses on an internet that somebody else can say that, you know, any day I can shut you down anytime? Would anybody want to do that?
And these are the things we're seeing today with guys like you know, Facebook and YouTube censoring, you know, everybody, and a lot of people are looking for better platforms to actually be free to express themselves.
Correct, but that is what is happening with some of the major blockchain protocols actually, and there's a lot of drama in our space. So if we take a look, right, if I own a gigantic enterprise like Amazon and so on, would I even dare to use any of these blockchains out there when they personally might shut down my service, shut down Amazon, man? I mean, it's a very stupid business decision if I want to do that. So those were the 2 main reasons why we are now embarking and building the Fido protocol. The last reason, however, would be the economic models. Most blockchains actually tried to emulate the economic models of Bitcoin, because I want to be a better Bitcoin. I want to be, you know, the king of the world. I want to be the king of the blockchain space. I want to be the #1 priced or fiat value or the most expensive network in the blockchain space. That everybody wants to be king in that. Yeah, but they misunderstand that, you know, Bitcoin works because there is no known owner of the whole network itself. No company owns Bitcoin.
Say that again. Yeah.
Yeah, so if that's the case, right, that's why Bitcoin's code, where they can tie the economic model and the governance model together. But a lot of the main blockchains out there are doing the same thing. and yet they are being controlled by foundations and companies and so on. Now,
Exactly.
yeah, and with that plus the exchanges, they actually control the prices of the tokens. They can choose when they want to sell, when they want to dump. There's a lot of market making and so on. If that's the case, right, then why if I own a business, would I dare to build something like that where the cost to my company cannot be controlled? I don't even know when suddenly the cost to my transaction will spike up like nobody's business, and I have no choice.
Exactly. So, look, you're mentioning some of the most valid points, and I'm going to welcome another one of my guests, my good friend. You guys probably have met him, and this is Daniel Mansi. My man,
Hi, guys.
welcome on the show. I know
Hey.
you are an amazing
Hi.
dude. Look,
Hi.
thank you very much again. So I'm surrounded, guys, by three powerful guests who have some of the most amazing knowledge, and in this ecosystem of blockchain, alternative finance, alternative investment, fintech, and technology. So, Daniele, welcome, and I know this is your third time here, and we enjoy you, man. We love your energy and so forth. You are now
Great being here.
and of
Lovely.
course, these two gentlemen, if you haven't met them before, they are Rico at the top. He is from Malaysia. Well, actually, I believe they're both from Malaysia, but he currently is in Malaysia. And Dunstan, with the nerdy glasses and he is so we're talking about how can blockchain technology help the SMEs and entrepreneurs in Africa. And we have an audience of people from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, and from other parts of the world who are connected and wanting to know exactly and hear from you directly what you guys are doing. And Dunstan, coming back to you still, and with the Fido protocol, can you please explain to me how disruptive you are in the banking environment? What are you bringing that is novelty? What are you helping solve as a problem? Can you please elaborate exactly what that protocol is? Why am I asking is not only are we partners, but if, for example, our local startup entrepreneurs are looking for platforms to bootstrap and say, hey, you know what? All I want to do is get access to a payment gateway, or what I want to do is to get access to an ecosystem of like Amazon. And also, I want you to explain to the audience the success that you have had building the PayPal of blockchain, which is coin payments. So please tell me a little bit more about that so that the audience can really understand what you guys are currently doing in this space.
Okay, cool. Actually, right now, while we are building Fido protocol, we actually built a couple of tech in the blockchain space, including coinpayment.net. It was actually built. The tech was built by us. We don't own the company, but we built the tech. So what it does is actually like a PayPal in the blockchain space. I think the current transaction volume that it does is $1.5 billion yearly, actually. So. Now, so what is coin payment? Is actually a payment gateway that's connected to quite a lot of e-commerce stores like WooCommerce and so on. It actually brings a lot of websites. If people are not using Coinbase has a wallet itself, they'll be using Coin Payments as a payment system. So that's coin payment. The next one would be while we are doing that right now, we are having discussions with one of the current countries in the world. They are actually hoping to use the Fido protocol and actually revamping the entire banking network. So what that means is this: they kind of want to throw away their old physical fiat system. They don't want to use the current mint that they have, because that's very energy consuming. Operational costs are extremely high. So they want to build a digital mint. They want to build a wallet. They want to build the exchange. They want us to tie in with the ATM networks, and then like operate like give them the back end to the whole infrastructure. And this is what a protocol is for, you see. Because actually a protocol is just like a base layer. It's like internet layer. I call it the internet 2.0 in a sense. And if a protocol can be made to scale, we can even input the whole internet, or even upload the whole internet, or create a separate decentralized internet where no countries can have full control or even any control over the whole ecosystem. Now, how do we do that is this. Instead of having competitive miners, like like with Bitcoin and some of the other blockchains out there, we actually have Fido cubes that provide parallel processing to the whole network. The larger the number of cubes, the greater the processing capabilities, the higher the scalability of the whole network, and the more stable the whole network is. So that is just the basis of the Fido protocol and how we design and architecture this. Now, we actually mean for this protocol to be a protocol where smart cities can use, SMEs can use it. It is not just for FinTech, because technically, if you have a scalable blockchain, right, even like medical records can be stored indefinitely on it, as long less than 20% of the network is as long not more than 20% of the network is being backed up and so on. Yeah, the whole thing can carry on, you see. So this is a sort of service that proves to be that we hope, that we believe would be indestructible in the near future once it's being done. So these are some of the things that we are doing right now.
Let me ask a question to all of you, and I want Daniela to jump in on that as well. Currently, we all know that Bitcoin is the first digital currency that was born, and that's the one currency that gave rise to the notion of blockchain. Okay, but we also, all of us know the scalability issues that Bitcoin protocol has had. The fact that it is very slow in processing transactions, all that kind of stuff. So Ethereum came on board, and we see multiple other platforms like EOS and Ripple for providing a settlement layer transactions similar to the bank or the SWIFT system, trying to replace that and so forth. So what do you think in the current ecosystem FinTech companies can employ to enable the transactions for whatever platform they are currently actually building? And what recommendation would you have, Danielle, for startup companies, for example, in South Africa or in Africa, as a matter of fact? I love the fact that Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa are kind of leading the way when it comes to embracing this technology. What can you tell me, Danielle?
Yeah, I think it's the main topic to be focused at is what is the business model and how you reach your target clients, because that's the first question you need to address, because scalability comes later. You don't have anything to scale if you don't have customers. So this means scalability definitely is something important. But if you think about Bitcoin, and then I jump back to your original question, Bitcoin is the fastest ever asset in the world since ever. Is the fastest ever. Does it really matter? It can process 3 transactions per second to be the fastest growing asset and the most valuable one? No, it doesn't matter. If you consider Bitcoin as a store of value, and the fact it doesn't scale up in terms of processing speed is not a big issue to deliver the value being a store of value, okay? So again, scalability matters if you want to compete against MasterCard, which processes 40,000 transactions per second. Yes, scalability matters and processing speed matters. But if you focus at, for example, in the real estate, because one of the areas I'm much more excited,
right?
Tokenizing real estate, and you think about, for example, creating a token as the asset which is being traded on the secondary market, either fractional ownership or derivative. Does it really matter building a technology that processes thousands of transactions per second? No. It's much more important to create a business model that makes the startup self-sustainable within the business model and their ecosystem they're going to develop.
I love that answer, and I think, like you said, first of all, you started with it depends on your on your business model, but also the industry you're in, and also the conversation around Bitcoin as a store of value or something we can actually transact. You see, just last week, right? Maybe on Monday or last week, I saw an article that mentioned that there are 3 countries in Africa that are leading the way with regard to digital currencies, and that is Nigeria. Nigeria was able to perform about $35 million transaction that particular month or last month. And then it was Kenya. I forgot the number of transactions there, but still in the millions of dollars. And then South Africa. But here's the question I ask. When I look at that, I see it is more from a trading perspective, right? I have a feeling it is more from a trading perspective. So a lot of people are coming in because all they want to do is being on exchange platforms, exchanging value all the time, transacting, and doing what Dunstan mentioned earlier, grabbing more of that fake currency, the fiat currency, the fiat paper, because in our minds, that's the only thing we know right now, right? And we see banks around, the central banks around the world printing money, the United States printing $2 trillion. South Africa definitely doing the same as well. And how is that benefiting? So what would be your advice? Okay, so I'm asking all of you 3, and Rico, you can chime in as well. What would be your advice when it comes to becoming a participant in this ecosystem? For me, it depends on who you are, whether you are a user, trader, or whether you are somebody who really want to build a solution so you can actually bring a positive change. What do you think? What advice can you give to SMEs in Africa as well as entrepreneurs who are looking to build their businesses?
And I can give an advice which I've given today for free, actually. So,
please,
no, I don't trust the guys called advisors. So that's my problem. Sure. Yeah, those that are being paid to give advice. Either you have skin in the game or you don't. So that's sure. But long story short. So in fact, what I strongly believe is, again, why you're interested about it. And I give an example of a guy that he's coming from finance. He's a whole guy, say Bitcoin is shit and whatever. And then I say to him, so do you know what Bitcoin is? And he said to me, yes, I heard of it, but it's a scam, whatever. I told him, Bitcoin, as I said before, is the asset which has been growing faster ever, number one. And look what happened in the last 10 years. You can see the volatility, whatever. That's the reality. Do you like this? And he say, wow. So if I put 1,000 Bitcoin right now, highly likely I will get 10% in 1 year, being, not to make too much big assumptions, whatever. And he grasped immediately what Bitcoin is, regardless of the proof of work, whatever. So long story short, again, the fundamental question is, what do you want to achieve?
Correct.
Blockchain has some key advantages versus any other existing technology. As long as you perfectly fit into it, you don't even need to explain why you're using blockchain, because you deliver this thanks to the underlying technology. So again, the key question is, what do you want to achieve and why you believe blockchain is of fundamental help of your core mission.
Absolutely. Let's move into another interesting topic, which is all about funding. Entrepreneurs around the world are all about funding, right? But I was reviewing an interesting video yesterday that I bumped into, I think 3, 4, 5 years ago. And this guy out of San Francisco has been able to, first of all, he was 9 years old when he started with his businesses. And over the years, he realized that, not only has he failed in multiple businesses, I think about 50 businesses, but they have built 25 businesses that some of them have gone on an exit strategy and made a lot of money on the stock market as part of the IPO, which is an initial public offering for those who don't know. But he was giving some great advice, which I'm just going to mention quite a few. I think the first one was timing. He mentioned that timing was important. Timing is important. And when we look into timing, guess what? Airbnb was born during a recession. And that recession was based on the fact that the property market had collapsed in the US, and many people didn't own more properties. But in fact, for people to make money as well, what they started doing is they embraced the business model of Airbnb to start renting out their properties, all right? So they could actually make some money. Uber Uber was born during a recession. Okay, and guess what? Their business model proved as well that even right now during this pandemic, those guys were the guys able to make a lot more money as well. And I can give many other examples. But the second thing that he mentioned was the team execution. So the team, it is important to have a solid team that will be able to ensure that the execution on your idea will actually thrive. The third element that he mentioned was the idea. He realized that, you know what, as much as the idea could be great, but it comes in as third position because an idea morphs into something else over time. Look, you can have an idea today, but depending on how the market evolves, your idea will morph and be agile to adapt with that particular market or the new market condition as well. And in the end, he mentioned that, you know what, funding seemed to have been the last element on the card. So I want to know from you guys, and because we are now going to start talking about raising capital for startups and the Sanctum Ventures, I want to know from you, what do you think, makes this whole process as complex as possible? And what can we do to make it successful for entrepreneurs? And I want to zoom in. First of all, we're talking globally. Okay, Rico, I want you to really expand on that. I know it's one of your favorite topics, as well as Daniele's, but I want you guys to talk about it broadly. And then I want to zoom in down to Africa. The aim here is I want to bring your expertise to helping the African continent. I want to help entrepreneurs in Nigeria, in Ghana, in South Africa, in the DRC, anywhere in the world. But let's take the focus in Africa, because you see, many of these entrepreneurs may not have had the opportunity to meet you guys, but I've met every single one of you and many more, because of through the traveling that we do and expanding and building a global network, we get to learn about the foundation or the fundamental platforms that do exist. How do we raise capital? How do we form a company? How does it become successful? How can we, as investors, start making a lot of money? So please, Rico, anybody can actually chime in, but I want you, Rico, to get started. What is the issue here, and how can we actually make it successful?
I think one of the things that we need to address primarily is the business model. Does it work in your local community, local country? A lot of things that we see, a lot of ideas actually work in certain countries. We can't duplicate another country. I could give an example of Alibaba, Alipay. It's doing very well in China. The Taobao is doing very well in China, but they can't bring Taobao outside of China. They failed miserably. They ended up buying other e-commerce platform after trying so hard to push AliExpress and many of the other e-commerce platforms outside of China. But Alipay seems to be able to, duplicate a certain market, and that's because of the traveling Chinese season around the world using the app to pay when they travel, especially at airports. So a lot of business ideas are good ideas. Doesn't mean that they are able to, expand and grow in other market. So the business model has to be suitable for the culture locally. So a global idea may not work, but it has to be a localized, innovation that it actually work for the people, and people will adopt it and actually use it. So that the original generation of the ideas, the innovation of it, and then thirdly, the team, the experience of entrepreneurs is so important that most of the time when we decide to invest or not in a venture, we look into the team, the core people, their values, their attitude towards the business and the life, and that itself needs a lot of guidance, a lot of education and awareness on. So I think what we are looking at a global level, looking for good ideas. Some of them are IP, intellectual properties that are being registered. Of course, has a lot of adds-on and bonus to it. But the whole business idea and business model that Daniela was mentioning earlier on, does it work? And how long will it take to break even? What are the odds of failure and the risks in terms of legalized regulations? And how does it fit into the local regulatory environment? So those are some of the things that we will actually have a very deep dive research before we even consider that is that a sound idea or sound business model. The next thing will come into is like, how is this going to be a unicorn in that particular market? So most of the businesses will look into IPO, okay, but the really good businesses doesn't need to IPO because they are able to generate enough funding and cash flow that they can sustain themselves without IPOing. So the really good businesses doesn't really need to do IPO. They can probably fundraise at the start stage and Series A, and they can actually stop fundraising. They are self-sustainable. But for some of the businesses that they are looking at global expansion, then look, they are going to Series A, B, C, and eventually IPO. So it really depends on the founder's team on what they want to achieve in this business and what is the ultimate goal. So I think going back to South Africa and African region, there are so much opportunities where technologies are going to be deployed in the next 10 to 20 years. We foresee that a lot of latest tech will jumpstart in Africa because it's just an era where you bypass the whole generation gap where you just start with smartphones or smart devices, and you don't have all those old style devices that we used to go through in the face. So the starting point of that whole generation is there, and the market is actually huge. It's a huge market for growth. So we have a very huge interest in terms of the whole Africa region economic growth in the next 10 to 20 years. We foresee that it will be one of the biggest GDP growth on earth compared to China, US, Europe, and Southeast Asia. So I think looking at that space where we were looking on moving into African market, looking at partnerships, venture builders, experts. Right. Why do we want to work with venture builders? Because they know how to incubate, accelerate ventures, and they know exactly how to guide them and help them, entrepreneurs, to actually be a successful businessman. So that experience to us is so important. I gave an example of why we are working with our sister fund in America, R12 Ventures. One of the major selection is because they had 4 funds before this, and they have 25 to 30 years experience in venture building. I think that itself is a very important factor where we look for partners in overseas, and that we are looking at the same approach in Africa region.
Great. You've mentioned some beautiful things, and I want to zoom into quite a few keywords so that our audience can understand a lot better. Okay. So first of all, and Daniel, I want you to come in on this as well. Let me ask you this. By the way, guys, IPO stands for initial public offering. Okay. Initial public offering. I'm just going to put it on the screen just now. That's what an IPO stands for. But I want to find out from you, why do startup companies, Rico, you've mentioned that some companies may choose to go public or not.
Yep.
Why do companies go public? Why did Facebook go public? Why did WhatsApp go public? Why would Uber go public last year? Why did Airbnb go public? It seems to me that, why did Zoom go public? Amazon. It seems to me that all of these companies, successful giant companies, always are seeking for that secondary market on the stock exchange, NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. And we know that's where the capital is, right? The funding, the money is right there in the US. And then we have the Asian market. And then we have the European market, the Canadian market as well. But we have markets in South Africa that don't, well, in Africa, we also have stock markets, but that don't necessarily have the liquidity good enough to attract these ventures, to go for an IPO. I read on a venture on a website yesterday, it is a lot easier to invest in African startups. It's easy. But making money out of this startup remains the expertise of a savvy investor. Can you please elaborate further as to that particular topic, this IPO thing? Why do we have to go on IPO? Please explain that to me and the audience, please.
I will try to explain in a layman term where it's actually a capitalism game. It's based on the capital market. If you can inject money into a company and grow the market in that particular market and have a market share, that increases the evaluation of this company. And of course, it has to be generating revenue and profits in a certain period of time. So, for example, Facebook was relying a lot on advertisements, but before that, they were not really generating a lot of revenue, right? It came later part where they spent a lot of money on marketing, PR campaigns, until it became like a huge user-based ecosystem, and then they branched into other businesses. So I think a lot of businesses, the core vision and the mission statements actually change over time. And the core business actually switch to something else where they saw the revenue generation is coming from there, and they will actually maneuver along the way. But coming back to IPO, initial public offering, where you are getting involved, all the fundings and capital from the public people, and it's actually regulated in a way, it's legal. So it's a choice being made by the founders and shareholders and their investors who came in. One of the games that we thought was like every investor who comes in, they need to exit at a certain point. So when are they going to get out? That's where we are asking, like most of the investors, when you invest, what is your timeline? Where you think, oh, I make 10 times, 20 times, whatever. I want to get out and move on to the next thing. So that's what most of the investors, institutional investors, are looking at. If we invest at this point in time, how long it will take us to exit or exit part of it or things like that. So they will put the funds into another pot where they think they'll bring back higher return on investment over a short period of time. So a lot of venture capitals around the world are actually not profiting. They can invest in 100 businesses, and maybe only a small percentage of them actually made it to IPO, but a lot of them actually die along the way or get stuck between different series of funding, and they were not able to grow. So some business might take like 3 to 5 years to go IPO. Some might take 10 or 15 years to go IPO. So it all depends on the management team and how they drive the business. So which is why you came back to what I spoke earlier on, the team, the core team that actually drive the businesses is so important now. In terms of the retention of the core members, in terms of the candidate that can headhunt to join the core team and drive certain businesses areas, that itself became a core competencies of the management team. How open are they? Some of the founders are saying, no, I need to be the CEO. I can't step down. I need to be the CEO until it goes IPO. But those companies most likely wouldn't make it in the end. Along the way, maybe the founder or co-founders might just step back and say, I will do this. Let's hire someone professional to do this. So I think that's where we are looking at in terms of how a company's evaluation actually evolve over time. That is a very scientific way of building business. And I think the African market has a lot of potential for that. I think education and venture building acceleration, we look forward to work with more innovation centers locally. We look forward to work with education institutions and universities. There are, innovation in terms of tech, medical, IoT, AI, FinTech. Those are the areas, emerging technologies. I believe that the Africans market will be very, very great potential.
Daniele, let me bring you to this question parallel to that. IPO is a constant game that benefits the wealthy. We all know that. So
I mean, I left a few years ago. I was in a company that went public this November in NASDAQ. So I embraced this journey a few years ago, and without saying something which is not true, why companies embracing the IPO? because probably is one of the paths that a company can follow to make a big shot and make a lot of money out of it. Then it depends what is the purpose of this journey. Do you want to cash in and go to Maldives for the rest of your life? Yes, it's an opportunity. But at the end, I have a different view on the IPO journey. So first of all, I believe there are different tools right now we can deploy to improve the traditional fundraising scheme.
Yes.
So number one, and I put myself in the shoes of startups. So if you believe that being a startup and being successful at launching a startup is an easy game because you think about Facebook, Airbnb, whatever, sorry, my friend, that is not true. So because 95% in average, it depends on this country, a startup fails, and you have to self-sustain yourself without having $1 of income for average couple of years time. If people, I mean, there are some, of course, part of the world, for example, US, that might be quicker than that. But if I take something, average story, you have to think it takes 2 years to see something. And you have lost 2 years of your time. And if you're not lucky, you lost also part of your money. So are you ready to embrace into this journey? If the answer is yes, then you go to the next step. At which point in time, you have to be in a couple of years' time to start becoming successful, having built traction, having real clients, having a product that works, okay? If you embrace this path, then you're getting to the surface somehow. But again, it's a very, very risky one. You have to be very energetic and motivated. In my view, what we can do right now, and I'm all in on this, there is a better way, in my view, than the traditional fundraising scheme. Fundraising scheme, the traditional start from the so-called friends and family or fools, then you have seed rounding, so you have initial seeds, then you go to series A, B, C, and then you go, you move forward. In my view, there is a better, or there is a different one. So VC, private equity-like, in my view, they should step in much later than when they step today. So, because it's Rico was saying there is a very high rate of failure in the startup, which is true. But if startups start to become successful with their own tools, with their own means, before they get in and ask for money, because they're already proven to be successful and eventually they have already some revenues from the client, they can jump to the Series A like in the old model by the time they're already proven to be successful. So I would like to eliminate the seed funding step. And I would like startups to prove.
Eliminate that step. What would you want to? I just wanted to give that example.
Because you have to prove that your product works and your business model works.
Okay.
You have to prove it.
In other words, build value until you realize that you don't really need money, but for you to grow to that next step, then you get access to a VC firm. Yeah.
Because if you eliminate this, if you eliminate the seed rounding step, you have to deliver. Otherwise, you will die. There's nothing in between. So this means, and people believe that somehow they can self-sustain their life living also with the seed. I've seen with my eyes people asking for seed money and putting 50% of the seed money as a salary. It doesn't work like this. It doesn't work like this. So if you want to have seed money, it's because you want to build a product. You need to have your marketing. You need to distribute. So if you think you have seed money because you have to pay your bills, that's not the right path for you.
Yep. Who then helps the entrepreneur early on? And by the way, I have some questions from Tatu, from Team, and from a few other people. So if you guys have questions, please prepare your questions. This is a very, very interesting topic, especially for entrepreneurs and SMEs who are looking to get started. We're talking about raising funds. We're talking about getting access to VC firms. We're talking about the do's and the don'ts, and perhaps hopefully in this time frame that is remaining for us, figuring out exactly the ways that we can essentially help you further. But Daniele, at what point should the entrepreneur look for money? Who actually helps him to get that money? Where does he go and get access to that money?
I mean, it's very simple. If you have to build a product, if you have to build the product, you don't need to have money. You need to have skilled people. So you need to have a product developer. You need to have an engineer. You need to have a UI, UX designer. You need to have people. I mean, you don't need to have money to pay people because they can co-found the journey, the venture. So in fact, you have, to me, you don't need seed money to prove that you're working well. You need to prove me with the product, with the client, with the revenues. It's only what is matter. I mean, all the rest is just subjective evaluation, which I don't believe VC can continue or can somehow continue to do. Because this model, in my view, again, it's my personal view, it's proven not to work. We need to have a better model. We need to give more money to people that invest at certain stage, VC, private equity, whoever, but also entrepreneurs should be very cautious. This is not an easy journey. You don't make quick money with a startup. It takes a lot of time. It's long and it takes, yeah, but it's a mission. I mean, it's not about becoming billionaire in 1 year time. If you want to do quick money, I mean, learn how to trade. You make quicker money than that.
Okay, so I'm going to take a couple of questions before I move on to my other topics. So let's see here. So I've got Tatu who's asking. First of all, Tatu says, he's new to the blockchain and crypto cloud space, and where do I? Tatu, you are at the right place. If you follow me on Facebook, Tatu, reach out to my team and send me an email. Go to my website, send an email. My team and I are putting together some great content, educational content, and I think hopefully this month, and my show manager is looking at the show as well. Hopefully this month we should be able to come up with a masterclass for you guys, and just to help you with the basic knowledge and see exactly where you can actually go from there. All right. But your next question, Tatu, he says, and this is for all of you guys. So he operates a drug rehab, right, in South Africa, and how can he leverage these technologies for him to be successful? So let's look at that particular question at a broader spectrum, where we can help guys like him and maybe other folks in the same line to provide him with an answer. Who want to go first with this question? Anyone?
Well, yeah. Well, I can take a stab at this. Well, if you're operating a drug rehab, right, is it a for-profit organization or is it a non-profit in that sense? Because there will be two distinct paths that you can take. If it's for non-profit, actually, generally what people do is they create Kickstarter programs. They look for grants. They look for tax reduction or tax nullifications. And technically they reach out to a community that actually believes in So that's the non-profit part. So assuming that yours is for profit and it's drug rehab, right? The other question that I actually would need to figure out from you would be this: what's your revenue? How are you generating revenue?
Correct.
Yeah, because there would be various ways that you can generate revenue. You can do it where there's a subscription model where you in-house your therapists, where you in-house the service providers and so on, and whoever comes, they actually pay on a monthly subscription. And I believe that gives you a very stable stable way of maintaining and running your business. And you can figure out whether or not you will be on a deficit at the end of the month. You can easily calculate out. That's one way. Other ways would be this, like a Uber model, where people actually come. The service provider actually goes through an app or goes through a platform or just a website, to be honest, and the consumers or the people that needs drug rehab actually can connect to these people. So this can be on a pay per appointment basis. So this is just two basic models actually, and whether or not blockchain is useful in this model, since we are talking about blockchain and so on. The basic use of blockchain that most people are using is, they have their own tokens. They are using the blockchain to record the information, so that the information information can either publicly be available, whether or not it's good in this case, or that they use the blockchain to encrypt the data. That's it. So that is more of an operations and it's a business decision where you make. So yeah, so that's my take on this.
And I think I can add on that that for all entrepreneurs, it is important to understand one thing: not every business is blockchainable, if I can put it that way.
Yep.
First of all, evaluate exactly whether your business model works. Now, do you just want to use the blockchain platform for you to record transactions as immutable records? Great. Blockchain is there for that, depending on what platform you want to be able to leverage to make that happen, right? And therefore, again, you will have to ask yourself the question: how do you want to configure your blockchain? Is it going to be a private blockchain or a public blockchain or a hybrid blockchain? So those are the other elements as well. Most likely, if you don't want any third party or outside participant to come in, most likely an internal blockchain with a select number of nodes validating these transactions. Those nodes could be partners of your network that validate the efficiency of those transactions. That can happen. But if you want to go and build a more public blockchain, then the question is, a second question to that would be, okay, do you want to build a token, a digital token? Because then that digital token could become the utility that will fuel up your ecosystem for drug rehab. And that means everybody who wants to come in for drug rehab, for example, will have to buy these drugs or subscribe to that model using that digital token. Why do you want to do that? Because you want to improve liquidity on that particular token. You want to increase its value, and you want that to become the center of that particular ecosystem. But also, it is another model whereby other investors, external investors, where you want to raise money from, would come and in exchange of their fiat currency or whatever that is, you will give them a certain portion of those digital tokens that they will hold, and you will raise your funds to build your business. But now your revenue model, your business model, and the utility of that token needs to certify the need to have that, and also to give value back to the investors and as well as the people within that particular ecosystem. So in the end, it's a balance of the two. You need to understand the game and see exactly whether you want to go on a blockchain or you just want to raise capital normally. There's one other question that I want to take in here. Somebody from the DRC is asking, Daniel, I think you've been very, and I think Dunstan, you can also respond to that. How can the blockchain technology help develop third world countries, mineral tracking and logistics and so forth? How do we, the entrepreneurs, connect to developers that can help us build services? Okay, this is a very, very easy answer, but I'm going to let you guys to go ahead and do that. I want to go first, Daniele.
On the first, there are two questions there. I answer the first. So how can blockchain help to develop, so let's say commodity markets? Like, for example, whatever commodity. And a very simple example, take, I don't know, gold, take cobalt, take everything. The way these, so if you see this from an end-to-end perspective, from a trading perspective, so you have extraction until trading. So, and that if you think about what is the value chain, there is a fraction of the revenues which is being kept at the beginning, meaning in the country of the extraction, for example, DRC is just an example, or South Africa. But most of the money that industry or that gold mine generates as a whole goes into the financialization part. So, which mostly is in the Toronto Stock Exchange, is in the London Stock Exchange, is in the New York Stock Exchange. Most of the value is captured in finance. So the way to reverse, thanks to the blockchain, is why don't we start tokenizing commodities at its source? And then making the source, meaning, let's say the gold mine, is just an example, could be the cobalt mine, that create a tokenized asset, meaning a token which contains the assets, which is in the back, commodity, and is being traded onto a digital platform called the exchange. So if you do it at the source, you keep most of the value in the extraction country. And blockchain is the technology that enables the tokenization, meaning the creation of a functional digital element that contains an underlying asset, and then address investors' needs into the so-called primary market, and then it allows the trading onto secondary markets, meaning the exchange. Blockchain addressed this from an end-to-end perspective, which is of a tremendous help in countries like South Africa or DRC, which are very rich of commodities.
Beautiful, beautiful. Rico, do you want to add something on that?
I will touch on the tracking and logistic part of the things that is part of the supply chain in the whole business. The entrepreneurs can look into creative ways of data collections, because I believe the value adding into the business is big data. I think everyone is talking about that in terms of financial value, trading values in the supply chain financing. So gathering all these data points actually can make the whole supply chain much more efficient. We have tracking that will actually make things move faster and more convenient in the whole business. On the other hand, logistics part is a very mature business. Without blockchain, it's fine. But if you can put some of these things on blockchain where the data is being transparent or non-transparent, being controlled in the proper way, that could actually add value to the supply chain. In terms of the entrepreneurs connecting to developers, feel free to contact any of us. I think we have access to quite a number of developers that can help in developing tech and blockchain.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I want to move into my next two topics, and then we are going to wrap up. I know it's midnight for you guys, and I don't want to keep you guys too long. Yeah, you guys
Hey, don't worry about this, bro.
Okay, it's still early hours. In our space, it's still very early.
Yeah.
I am passionate about entrepreneurs so much. I know how hard it is, and I am from the DRC. I live in South Africa. It's been 18 months. 18 years. Geez, not 18 months, but 18 years. The journey of an entrepreneur is not easy, right? But when you know and you figure out exactly what you want to accomplish, then sticking to your gut and sticking to your dreams and your goals, and as soon as you start owning them, is one thing that's going to get you to reach there. I want to address some of the key ingredients that make a successful startup venture funding process. So what are those ingredients? Do we need now, as entrepreneurs, as startup companies in Africa as a whole, do we need to start building company? Although we are local entrepreneurs, do we need to build companies with a global perspective? Because today we have access to the internet and we can do business in China and in the US. And also, do we need to do that because we want to attract funding one day and we want to go on an IPO so that we can raise tens and hundreds of millions of dollars? What is your take on that? And what do we really need to do to help companies, these startup? What do we need to help them with so we can actually succeed?
I think the question that the entrepreneurs need to ask themselves is, what problems are they solving?
Yeah.
So if the problems are easily solved and anyone can solve it, then that's obviously not a business. Because if you have the knowledge and know-how and innovation to solve a problem, and you are able to patent that, and only you can do it, then that becomes your unique selling point, right? So the entrepreneurs need to either put in capital in terms of time, your efforts, and also financial capital to actually invest in that ideation of this whole business. So I think that is where the start of this whole venture should start with,
right,
a vision where you are actually solving a real issue with a real solutions, and there's a proof of concept, okay? And then you can develop that into an MVP where investors say, look, I like this, okay? You can consider the cost of patenting this, and then it will become a real business. So I think that itself is the start of everything.
Daniele?
Yeah, so launching a startup is not like having a job. So it's a mission of life, which is something bigger than achieving just a target. So you want to become free as a person, as an entrepreneur, and you have a higher purpose, mission of life, which is building something that you own and you bring it to life. So to this extent, the mission and the motivation, in my view, is the fundamental step that any of us should ask himself before starting it. And I'm not saying it's an impossible, nothing is impossible, but it's not for all. But it's only for people which have strongest motivation, and they are very strong in asking themselves, what do they really want? And how can they improve by the mistakes and the pain from the past? Every single day. It's an everyday exercise. So having said that, there's no magic formula to succeed. Yeah. At the end, you can be fulfilled even though you don't do IPO. It depends on the metric you set on your own. And again, it's a mission of life, and it's a journey that if you start, probably never ends.
Yeah. Okay. Final question, or almost. Blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. Is this really necessary for Africa?
Well, this is something that I would like to say. I believe that blockchain is necessary for every nation in the world, just like the internet is necessary. I give an example. If one day somebody shuts the internet off from any other country in the world, let's say, like the internet providers target Africa, and they shut the internet off from Africa, what will happen?
Disaster. Chaos.
It's a disaster, right? It is chaos. There's a lot of things that won't happen, including like banking and so on. Or even just some of the things that we are so used to in life. Now, so this is what I mean. You see, when it comes to blockchain, right? It can be as small as just an ecosystem, where right, we have groups of people coming together, they form their own community, they do transactions within their own groups and so on. Like it could even just be a small little club, for instance. You create your own tokens, you pay for service within your own ecosystem. Yeah, just like the drug rehab, it could be a small little ecosystem. But a blockchain can be the potential where it becomes a base infrastructural layer where information goes in and out, where the information is encrypted, because that cybersecurity is cybersecurity to me has two meanings actually. One of the meaning is stability, whether or not your infrastructure is stable. The other one is whether or not, right, your infrastructure is in a sense not in danger of being hacked, or like even if hacking does happen, you have your redundancies or your backups and so on. So this is what I believe about blockchain. You see, it will affect many of our lives, just like the internet. We might not even know that the tech behind it is called blockchain, maybe in 10 to 20 years time. Just like we don't even know that like the TCP and so on are part of the internet. I mean, I'm just talking Greek to people most of the time, especially when I talk about blockchain and about architecture, and I tell them that this thing is disgustingly important to you. Like Bitcoin is very important to people, but they don't understand. The only time when they truly understand is this situation, where their lives goes to dust because somebody else destroys it for them. Like I give you an example, Venezuela. I know a lot of people talk about Venezuela, but they don't understand it because they don't have friends there. I have friends in Venezuela that are millionaires. They are USD $1 million people. It's not in Venezuelan money and so on. But yet, in one day, the banks told them this: I'm sorry, for the past 30 years of your life that you spent, you were an entrepreneur, you built your businesses, you became a millionaire, you're now financial free. I'm sorry, man, in one day you are no longer financial free. Whatever you have inside is worthless.
Wow. That's a great point. And we could talk at great length about Venezuela. The gold is stuck in banks in
London.
In Britain. The Queen doesn't want to release that. They're taking England to court. The president is being fought over by Donald Trump. the petrodollar has been stopped from raising funds, and yet the Americans are printing $2 trillion of dollars. We're going to talk about that next time. And but you know what? This is I just love the space because of the freedom it gives us, but also the many opportunities we have to accomplish great things. I want to leave the audience with one thing. Daniele, do you think that entrepreneurs or startup need to know truly on the layer one protocol, right? Do they need to know how the blockchain works for them to build businesses based on blockchain technology?
Yeah, I can tell you what I discussed with our CMO at BlockSearch,
Right.
and I told him like this: if there's one chance that a blockchain company is becoming like Facebook or whatever else, is by preventing the use of blockchain within the marketing activity. If you don't tell that you're a blockchain company, you prevent yourself from telling into any market piece of it. You don't have to mention blockchain. It's prevented. You have to deliver true value. So, and you don't need to tell blockchain word because people will not buy blockchain. People will buy the fact that you have a great product, you have a great UX, you deliver value, it's cheaper, it's better, it's more engaging, whatever it is, it's a product, no? So as long as you don't talk blockchain, that in my view is just a plus on top of it. So if you're a brand new company, in my view, by segregating the tech stuff, which of course the technology really matters, and being building technology at scale with all the proper configuration, which is extremely complicated, is great. But this is not to be mixed up with the marketing, because if you mix up the two, then in my view it becomes something that people would not understand.
Gotcha.
People from the main street. Yeah.
Gotcha. Rico, gentlemen, thank you very much. But Rico, you and I, and Daniela as well, but you and I are working towards helping my people in Africa. I'm all about Black Lives Matter, folks. That's what I'm all about, man. So you know what I posted today on Twitter, and I said, hey, the whole George Floyd movement, right? The whole I Can't Breathe movement. It's more than just a movement. It is a revolution, and the revolution around the world, whereby we need to look at people a little differently. We need to give meaning to the institutions, to the way we employ, and that's why what I'm doing right now is I don't care about where you guys are from or the political affiliation or the religious background. I care about one thing. And if you remember, now you went out there. I was speaking in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur, in front of 1,000 people. I was the only Black person in that audience. This is what I mentioned, and that was my first time in Kuala Lumpur. I spoke about blockchain, a trust protocol for a new economy in your country. And this is what I said. I don't care where all of you are from. I don't care about your color, your political agenda, whatever that is. We all are united in that room because we speak one language. And that language was the blockchain language. Because for the first time in the world, blockchain technology is able to put together people to create communities that would allow us to engage. Somebody in Singapore will talk to somebody from the DRC, and somebody in Italy, and or raise capital in San Francisco or Los Angeles. For the first time, through the blockchain technology, we can connect because we all are there for one thing: the blockchain technology that allows us to connect, create these communities, raise capital, get our project off the ground, and give value to people. For that, I thank you very much. And this is an amazing show. A lot of people are engaging because they want to learn more. They want to get value. I will bring you back again very soon. You and I are working with Sanctum Ventures and my company, CryptoVex Capital Ventures, to co-invest in some of you guys, entrepreneurs in Africa, and going forward, so we can build value and we can identify opportunities whereby our investors and ourselves can make some great money and all of us actually can enjoy the success that companies like Uber, Facebook, Airbnb, and the likes have been able to achieve. And you cannot achieve that if you don't have access to the information. Some people before never knew that companies from Africa could also even be listed at the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. There is a way to do that. Don't segregate yourself. Don't think that because you are out of the DRC or Nigeria, that you can't do business in Malaysia, in Tokyo, or in New York, that you can't add value and be listed at an IPO for an IPO. But it all depends on how you structure yourself. So for you to do so, you need to have access to a great network like the one that I'm bringing to you. How do you get access to funding? How do you structure your businesses? Focus on what you know how to do. Focus on the things you are called to deliver, and let other people see value in you so they can start building you up. That's exactly what happened with Mark Zuckerberg. I don't think that Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook because he wanted to become a billionaire. No, people saw opportunities in him. All he was just a kid who wanted to develop a social media. In fact, Facebook did not even have a business model. They just had an idea, the idea of connecting people through pictures. But gurus behind them, people who off the game saw a real opportunity, started connecting with Facebook and told Mark Zuckerberg, and I still remember early on in 2012, when they were forcing him to come up with a business model that would justify the investment that was made on Facebook. And for that, they had to move away, shifting their presence from laptops to now being on mobile. And guess what? Today, we are all connecting here on Facebook. This is the one thing, guys. Everything is here. It all depends on where you use Facebook. 2 billion people around the world. And Mark Zuckerberg became a billionaire by default because of the value he added. He focused on what he wanted to do first, and other people started building them. That's why I'm bringing you the experts. Daniele Mansi, who is in Italy. Thank you very much, my friend, for being here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Always my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Tio, a nerd. This guy is a gamer. Look at him, man. But he brings value. He understands the banking system. And his expertise is here to help you guys. And my good friend over there, Rico Pang in Malaysia. I thank you guys. And until we meet again, you guys have a fantastic one, gentlemen. And I thank you. So next Monday, obviously, we are going to come back again and start sharing some amazing stuff.
Welcome back to
and
the Digital Hustle.
There you go, guys. Keep on.
And today's show is going to be a pretty unique show where we're talking to digital entrepreneurs and black entrepreneurs that are actually doing great things. Let it be in the marketing space, let it be in cryptocurrency. This buzzword is coming all the time these days. It's something that a lot of people are interested into. And I brought back John Lombella, a good friend of mine who's been playing in that space for quite a while. John is the cryptocurrency guru. I call him back that.
Guys.
And welcome back to the show.
John, we think, represents the future.
So, can blockchain be a catalyst for development in Africa? Here is our interview with John Lombella.
John Lombella will talk to us about how hedge funds are navigating the market conditions.
I've seen some amazing people who are already working on phenomenal opportunities. And therefore, as entrepreneurs, and I'm an entrepreneur myself, all the way from South Africa, it is important to always develop new things, right? So ambitiously build new cases beyond just financial services. What is important for us is to focus more on the applications that are going to serve the purpose of the public, the guys that we are actually solving problems for. So those are the things that we need to be able to focus on. Take a leap of faith. Make sure that you review your blockchain with the peers and your application to see if they are blockchain ready. So it is really exciting times.